Welcome to That's Derm Good. I'm Janelle Ball, and I'm excited to bring you thought-provoking conversations about biologics, specialty medications, treatments, and so much more. I'll be chatting with some amazing guests about access, affordability, and advocacy. You're really going to enjoy this show. Welcome to That's Derm Good. Hi, everyone. When I started this season, I thought we'd spend a lot of time talking about patient access and innovation in dermatology. And we did. But what surprised me the most was that every guest, whether they were a physician, entrepreneur, patient advocate, biologic coordinator, or innovator, kept coming back to the same themes. Things like patient advocacy, education, innovation, community, and doing the hard work behind the scenes. And in my opinion, this is what makes That's Derm Good so good. As I was reflecting on this season, one thing that really stood out to me, we talked with physicians, nurse practitioners, entrepreneurs, researchers, biologic coordinators, and patient advocates, practice consultants, and even patients themselves. On paper, those careers all look very different, but every conversation came back to one simple idea: improving the lives of patients. Whether we were talking about access to medication, AI, skincare science, or building stronger practices, the goal was always the same: helping patients live healthier, more confident lives. Another thing I realized is that advocacy doesn't always look the way people expect. Sometimes advocacy is appealing a denial. Sometimes it's educating a patient about their disease. Sometimes it's developing AI that helps detect hair loss earlier. Sometimes it's creating skincare backed by science. Sometimes it's simply making sure patients don't feel alone. Every guest this season reminded us that there isn't just one way to advocate. You simply have to care enough to make a difference. Innovation isn't just happening inside pharmaceutical companies anymore. We heard about AI transforming dermatology from Dr. Tiffany St. Bernard, NASA-inspired skin longevity research from Dr. Kyle Landry, nutrient signaling and regenerative skincare from Natalie Novak and Ron Webb, business innovation from Cameron Hemphill, and clinical innovation through evidence-based off-label prescribing with Leanne Panch. Innovation isn't replacing people, it's just giving us better tools to care for patients. For all the conversations that we had about technology, research, business growth, one thing never changed: people matter. Tony Sycamore reminded us that great teams don't happen by accident. Tammy Bragg talked about the power of networking and community, and Brent Bargan challenged us to find workplaces where we can truly thrive. And our patient advocates all reminded us that behind every prescription, every prior authorization, and every appeal is a real person waiting for hope. If I had to sum up season 8 in one sentence, it would be this: access is only the beginning. We spend so much time celebrating approvals, new medications, and exciting innovations, but every guest reminded me that our responsibility doesn't stop there. It continues through education, support, follow-up, and making sure patients actually receive the care that they need. And this is why I love what I do. It's why I'm so excited to even answer questions from you guys today. So, season 8 wasn't just about dermatology. It was about resilience, innovation, leadership, and the people refusing to accept that good enough is good enough for patients. So, rather than ending the season with another interview, I thought it would be fun to get to know me a little bit better. So over the past few weeks, I've been collecting some of your questions. So today I can answer some of them. The first question that I've got is, how did you get started as a biologic coordinator? If some of you have been listening for a while, you would know a little bit about this story. But I started in front office. My background was actually cosmetologist. I thought I was going to be a cosmetologist for the rest of my life. I absolutely loved doing hair. I started working in a dermatology office, actually at a med spa first, and then I started working in a dermatology office. But I kind of got thrown into it. And if you ask a lot of coordinators that have been doing this for a while, they also got thrown into it for the most part. But I fell in love with it. I absolutely loved being able to support patients the way that I do. And I think a lot of that stems from me coming from a large family. This next question, which is asking, where does my passion for advocacy come from? And I think that really comes from just being a people person, being a caretaker, and wanting to really support people, and having a passion to help people. I grew up with 5 brothers and 3 sisters. I'm the second oldest, and I've been babysitting and watching my siblings grow up. And being that caretaker, that support for them has kind of fallen into the support and advocacy in dermatology. And I really love it. This next question, when did you realize networking wasn't enough? One of the things that I've seen, I think more so now because I work remotely and I'm seeing a lot more coordinators working remotely, that yes, it's so much fun to be able to go to a conference and see your friends and meet new people. When I first started working as a biologic coordinator, I didn't know who was around, who was doing what I did. And it was great when I finally got to meet some coordinators that were seeing the same struggles as me, that were dealing with denials and that were fighting with insurance companies the same as me. So it was great to be able to network with them and stay connected. But now there's so many coordinators that are working remote that to me, I feel like it's important to be able to have a friend that you can phone. Well, having a community of coordinators that you can reach out to whenever you need it, when you are not at a conference. Maybe you don't get to go to that conference one year and you still want to be able to find that network of people that you can collaborate with and connect with. And that's why for me, creating BC Collaborative was one of the most important pieces to BC educators. So exciting to be able to have such a large community now that we can collaborate with and talk to. There's over 400 members across the US and it's still growing. So it's really exciting to see that we can collaborate within that community. So that kind of leads to the next question, how did BC educators begin? So BC educators is such a passion of mine and I really enjoy being able to help as many offices as I can. When I first got into it, like I said, I got thrown into the role, but my goal was to figure out what is the best way that I could help patients and the most efficient and fast way. And with my mind, I'm always thinking about how to make things easier. I want to work smarter, not harder. And so when I started speaking as a biologic coordinator, I was able to see some of the issues that a lot of offices were struggling with. And so from there, I really wanted to be able to provide support to these offices. There was a lot of offices that didn't have a coordinator. There was a lot of offices that did. And so my goal was I want to be able to help both. I want to be able to help the coordinators and I also want to be able to help these offices that don't have coordinators. So that's kind of how BC Educators began. It's grown to so much more. There's so many pieces of BC Educators now. We have our side where we are working directly with dermatology offices and we're providing a biologic coordinator that is working as an extension of that office. They're handling everything from as soon as that prescription is written until the patient gets medication in hand and beyond. We're doing all the prior authorizations, we're doing all of the appeals, we're fighting with the insurance, we're helping to educate the office as to what needs to go into those chart notes and how to document properly to make sure that we're able to get those prior authorizations approved. And it's been such an amazing thing. Love working with our offices. It has been such a joy and growing the BC Educators team to be able to help support each other in that has been so amazing. And now we've got offices all over the Midwest, which is amazing. And the other part of BC Educators is having BC Collaborative and being able to connect in this community of biologic coordinators, medical assistants all across the US that are still passionate about supporting patients and are looking for education and resources and support to make sure that they're able to do their jobs even better. And so within that community, we've got resources. We've got a newsletter that goes out every single month. We've got monthly webinars, the BC Educators webinars. If you have not gotten to check out one of those webinars, It is amazing. This year, the topic has been the Access Blueprint series, and there's so many really good conversations. And it's a panel of biologic coordinators that are having a discussion about things that we see on a day to day. So, really, really great topics. Definitely go and check those out if you haven't yet. But there's also blogs on the website, bceducators.com. There's a blog page, and we have some amazing coordinators that are writing these blog articles that are really just helping to provide insight and education and support within the access space. BC Educators, like I said, is a passion project and it has grown so much. And it gets me so excited to be able to talk about it and to share it because I love what we do and I love what my team has been able to accomplish this year. There's so much more to come with it. And which came first, BC Educators or the podcast? BC Educators came first, but I always knew that there was something else that I wanted to do with just access and being able to open the door for conversation. The first original idea with the podcast was that I would just be talking to biologic coordinators and having all these conversations. And it really just grew to everything dermatology and how everybody is so passionate about supporting the patient, and the experience has been so amazing to be able to see. So, next question, where do you see AI fitting into patient advocacy? AI is in everything, and whether we like it or not, but AI has been really great as an assistant, right? It's great to be able to provide, resources and help us build out these resources. You get a thought, an idea of something that you want to create, and now we're using these tools to be able to help build them out and bring them to life. So a lot of people use Canva, and there's AI in Canva. When you're trying to create a graphic for a one page article or tool or resource that you want to provide for patients, there's a lot of information that you can add in there and make it look visually appealing. So there's a lot of things that you can do with AI in that area, but also automating, making things easier. And there's tools that you can utilize that can really help patients to make sure that they're getting the education and the resources that they're needing, but also reducing some of that administrative burden, also keeping those human relationships at the center of it. So that leads to the next question. What's the single most important thing in patient advocacy today? I think the most important thing is understanding that approval doesn't equal access and a denial is not the end of the journey. True advocacy means staying with the patient throughout the entire treatment journey. I really, really think that making sure that patients are feeling educated, that they feel supported throughout the process is the biggest thing that we can do when it comes to a doctor's office. Yes, it gets busy, but at the same time, it's important to prioritize our patients' experience and make sure that they feel heard, that they feel supported throughout the process, especially when it comes to a chronic condition or medication that is already just difficult to get and expensive. So, if we can help advocate and support our patients by making sure that they're getting the right resources, that they're connected with a single point of contact for the office, I think that's going to make a huge difference and a huge impact in patient advocacy. Let's see. If you could give every office 5 pieces of advice, what would they be? This is a good one. There's so much, but I can kind of whittle it down a little bit. Let's see. Don't stop after the approval. I would say document everything, and that is a given. I think everybody knows if it's not documented, it didn't happen. Educate patients early. Make sure that they have resources, that they know what is available instead of just handing them one little pamphlet about a medication. Give them resources, give them a place to go, to find, to learn, to be educated. Build relationships. I think that is really important, making sure you're connected with your field reimbursement managers or field access managers, and especially account representatives. Also, number 5, I would say check your workflow. Make sure that you have a good workflow and a good streamlined process that everybody can stick to. But also know that it can change as well. That's really going to help support your patient. What advice would you give to a new biologic coordinator? I didn't have advice from a coordinator before when I started. My advice would be learn everything that you can, but also be open to change and open to suggestions because there's so many new and innovative things that are coming out. But learn the process from the very beginning. understand how to do the prior authorization, how to talk with the insurance companies, how to talk with the specialty pharmacies, who to call, and understand who your network is. That way, you know where to go when you run into an issue. But before you can integrate any other pieces, any platforms or AI resources and support and things like that, understand how the process works. That's going to be the biggest thing because if you don't know the process and you allow another platform to help you do it, you're going to get stuck at some point and you're not going to know what to do. So it's important to know the process, but have an open mind and be open to change because insurance changes every year. There's new medications that come out, there's new processes. So be open to change and improve your process along the way. This next question, what makes an office successful? This is a really good question. To me, I feel like happy patients and a happy staff. When you have a really happy staff, they want to come to work. They're excited, they're motivated, they want to do a good job. And that reflects to the patients. The patients see that, they feel that. The patients are happy. They're going to tell their friends. They're going to keep coming back. They're going to be educated and they're going to feel comfortable. So that's where you gain success, where your patients are happy and your staff is happy because everybody is working together. When your staff is on the same page, they're going to be excited to do their job and they're going to want to make a difference in patients' lives. And patients are going to see that and they're going to feel that and they're going to want to keep coming back. So, in my opinion, patients being happy and your staff being happy is going to make a very successful office. What is next for you? Lots of things. There's so many things that are happening right now behind the scenes. My number one, not number one, but this is up there on the top of the list, but the patient access lines. Patient access line is something that I created, just launched the website. The website is mypalsupport.com. And the patient access line is a resource hub for patients. It's a great place for patients to be able to get some resources, some education, information about the access process, insurance denials, the prior authorization process, appealing. Not every patient knows that they can submit their own appeal. So there's a lot of resources on that. There's a lot of information about Medicare, Medicaid, understanding accumulators or maximizers, and then some of the patient assistance programs. So there's tons of resources on there that patients can utilize. Even as a biologic coordinator, we may not have everything right there at our fingertips to know exactly what the patient is needing. So there's a lot of really great toolkits on there as well. So patients want to track their medication journey. They want to track if they've gotten a denial and they want to know when they need to send that appeal in or what the office is doing on their end. There's a lot of resources on there that can be really helpful for patients. So I'm really excited about the patient access line. I think it's such a really, really great tool. And I'm hoping that I can work with some foundations to be able to help provide these resources to patients. But really, it's the access side perspective, right? Some things that patients might need to know before they go into their dermatology appointment, but also understanding what a denial means. A denial does not mean it's the end of the road. So lots of really great resources on there. And I think that's exciting. I'm also excited about a new platform. It's called Authorize 360. And this is a platform that the BC Educators team is getting to use first. And I've been really excited to work with a partner and some developers to be able to get this going. My team is not going to have to use their spreadsheets anymore, but this is such a great tool to really streamline the process and to make sure that things are a lot more organized and able to get things done a lot faster. So more to come on that, but so excited about that. Also excited about BC Educators' growth. We're trying to support as many practices as possible and patients. Our team is growing internally, and I love that. It's so exciting to see the way that they're able to help their patients and help our offices. Has been so exciting. Also, more podcast content. I'm so excited for new things to come with the podcast. And there's so many new things that are happening within dermatology space. And I'm excited to bring those to light, to have those conversations, and to share those with you all. We've got a few more questions. This one's great. Do you ever wish you had pursued another career? You know what? I feel like I am right where I need to be. I'm so happy that I am in this space in dermatology. It's been so fulfilling. I absolutely love it. And I don't think there's another career that I would want to be in. Okay, here's another one. Remote work or office. It's a 50-50 here. I have to say I absolutely loved working in office. Actually, right when I was launching BC Educators, I was working remotely for an office, and I was also working in office for another office part-time, and that was on paper charts. So I had to be in office for that one. But it's really interesting. There's a different dynamic. When you're working in the office, it's great because you have that camaraderie, you get to work directly with patients, and you're right there in the mix of everything. And it's great. Such a great feeling. Working remote is a little bit different. I can really focus on a lot of things without any distractions, without getting pulled in different directions when I'm in office. But I do love being able to work remote, and I still talk to patients and stuff as well. But one thing I will say, you do have to have a good sense of balance when you're working remotely because it's very easy to get sucked in and to continue working. And I've noticed that for myself. So there's times where you kind of just have to shut it off. But I don't know, it's a 50-50. There's pros and cons for both. How do you balance being a wife, mom, and entrepreneur? I have such a great support system. My work is part of my life, but it's not all of my life. My family, my faith, I love being around my family. I was able to spend some time in South Carolina and Florida with some family, and it's been so great to be able to be around family. To be a wife and be a mom is definitely rewarding for me, and they are so supportive. My husband likes to wear his That's Derm Good podcast shirt. Just recently got a new hat for him to wear as well. And my daughter, she's got her shirts, and she's been on the podcast before. She loves it. So she knows what I do, and she absolutely enjoys talking about it, and it's great. But they're very supportive, and they absolutely love it. And when I get to travel and go different places, sometimes they can tag along. It's a lot of fun. And I just keep coming up with the ideas. So I think my husband already knows. He's like, yeah, that's a great idea. Or no, maybe we should rethink that one. So it's it's definitely a lot of fun. Coffee or tea, and morning or night? I would say coffee. Morning or night, I would say I'm probably a night owl. I am not really much of a morning person. I would much rather sleep in and stay up until 2 a.m. working or binge watching a show. So yeah, nighttime and coffee. Let's see. Your brother has a podcast. Any sibling rivalry? That is a funny question. So absolutely not. There's no sibling rivalry there at all. I'm so excited for my brother and his podcast. I've actually been on his podcast. I haven't had him on mine yet. I think I might need to set that up. But his podcast is completely different from dermatology. He is in the energy and sustainable space. So if you're interested in energy sustainability, you can check out the Clear Haze Exchange. It's a podcast for expert insights on energy efficiency and sustainable solutions. So it's great that he does it because we can bounce ideas and questions off of each other. My sister-in-law actually edits his podcast, so I'll talk to her about editing stuff. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think it's great that he's got a podcast, and always love hearing other podcasters and getting some ideas. If there's one thing that this season has really reinforced for me, it's the patient advocacy isn't one person's job. It takes a team. It takes the biologic coordinators, the pharmaceutical partners, the patient advocates, industry leaders, and most importantly, the patients themselves working together. Every conversation this season has reminded me why this work mattered. And I am so incredibly grateful that you've chosen to be part of this community. So we've already started recording for season 9. So until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing the podcast. And thank you for everything that you do every day to make access to care a little bit easier. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me and listening to That's Derm Good. You can expect new episodes of That's Derm Good every week. The podcast is available on your favorite app, including where you're listening right now. Subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a new episode. Bye.